Hi and welcome to Classic MGB. Now, today we're going to do something most classic car owners do quite regularly. Yes, we're going to wash the car. Now, I know that looking at YouTube, there's lots of different ways of doing it. And detailing companies will tell you it's got to be that way for prime results. All I know is this is the way I do it. It might be different for you. If it is, drop some interesting information in the comments. Let us know how you do it. Anyhow, this is how I do it. It's basically 5 steps. The first step, I use a pressure washer to get all the loose dirt off. I go under the wheel arches just to give that a good clean and just get it all nicely wet. Second step, I put the snow foam adapter on the pressure washer and give it a good snow foam. Then I rinse that off with the pressure washer again, and then I start washing it by hand. Now, the way I do that, I have 2 buckets. A lot of people just use one. The received wisdom is 2, so that's what I do. So the first bucket has soap in it, and I use a soft mat and a sponge, but I'm very careful how I use the sponge. And most importantly, I have one of these in both these buckets. It's called a grit guard, and what happens is you put it to the bottom of the bucket, and it will hopefully catch all the grit. So when you put your sponges and your cleaning things in, it won't grab all that grit and throw it all over your paintwork. And the other bucket, of course, is just clean water, because it's very important once you've got some of the dirt onto your cleaning stuff, then you can rinse it off, and that's got a grit guard in at the bottom as well. So you're not putting the old grit that you've just got off the car back on the car. So let's get started. Okay, so that's got the car nice and wet. So now we'll take off the pressure adapter and put on the snow foam adapter. This is where it all gets rather messy. And now we'll cover the whole car with snow foam. And now we'll just go and get a nice cup of tea and let that dwell for 5 minutes or so. So with the snow foam done, let's just put that away, get the sprayer attachment, attach that and get the snow foam off. There we go. So that's that done. Next step, down to the hard washing. So the way I do this is I put my soft microfiber glove on, and I use the sponge just to help with foam. I don't actually let it touch the car. So if we start looking over here, squeeze it on and just gently wipe over the area. Now, I always start on the roof because that's kind of a logical place to start, because if you think about it, gravity works downwards and therefore all the water is going to drain down. So if you do the bottom first, then all the dirt from the roof is gonna go all over the new cleaned paintwork below. So not rocket science really, but that's the reason for it. Whilst at the front of the car, always pay good attention to the wipers, make sure we give them a good clean. And of course give the windscreen an especially good clean. So into the rinse bucket, and then get the dirt rinsed off, and then back into the washing bucket. Okay, so that's the wash done. Now before it dries on, because that's not a good thing, what I'm going to do is just use some of this alloy wheel cleaner from Auto Glim. Pretty good stuff. Just spray it on and then I'll wash the whole lot off with the pressure washer. Now I should say that normally you'd really need gloves for this and eye protection, but I do have glasses on, which I think is good enough, and it's not really going to be on my hands for very long. Now, health and safety probably says no, you're not allowed to do that, but I do, and my hands seem okay. Okay, so alloy wheel's done. Now it's just a question of washing it all off, letting it dry for a bit and drying the car off. So, pressure washer time. So that's the washing bit over. Now, normally in a hot summer's day, I start drying it straight away, but it's a reasonably cool day today and there's not much wind. So I'm going to leave it for a few minutes just to dry off before I dry it properly with a microfiber towel. So I think I'll finish that cup of tea. Well, cup of tea drunk, now it's time to dry the car off. Now, historically I used leathers, you know, normal chamois leathers, but somebody introduced me to microfiber, and in my mind, it's so much better than a leather. So I use microfiber all the time. I got one big one and lots of little ones. So this is the main bodywork one. So let's get going. So that's the main drying bit completed. I've got this yellow cloth that I go around and just finish off any little loose bits, but I've also got a blue cloth which is to do the dirtier bits, things like the wheels, which I'll do in a minute, and also inside the door shut. So let's start with that. So that's just about it. Just a last look around just to make sure there's any other little loose drips, that kind of thing left on the car. Get it back in the garage, and then I'll tell you about my final car washing tip. So the car is back in the garage, and my final tip for washing is to use one of these. I tend to use it if I have to drive it on a wet day. I try not to take the car out on a wet day, but if sometimes I have to, I'll bring it back into the garage, wipe it off with a soft microfiber cloth, and then put this on overnight. And what it is a dehumidifier. So the idea of that, it takes all the moisture out of the air and sucks any of the moisture off the car. Now, whether it works or not, I really don't know. All I do know is that it's been recommended, so for the sake of a few hours electricity, that's what I'm going to do. So that's my take on car washing. Now, of course, there are lots of different ways, as I said at the top of the video. If you've got other interesting tips that I don't know about, please drop them in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a share, give it a like, and consider subscribing to the channel, because all those things really help the channel get noticed and get it out to the people that find this sort of stuff interesting. As always, many thanks for watching, and take care.